Something I've been learning recently is that I need to allow myself to take breaks. So as you know, I recently moved to Australia, and I have been pushing myself to my last straw, I think, in terms of trying to get out and do things. I think I felt like I needed to be constantly doing things, making friends right away, doing a bunch of different things, and I ended up pushing myself in a way that I think was good for me, but I also learned my limits, and I learned that I needed to take a break. So there were a few days where I truly did not do anything, and that was huge for me because I realized sometimes in life, for whatever reason, things might just stress you out. The first few days of being here were really hard. And then I had a week where everything was amazing. And I was doing everything. I was out and about all the time. And then I kind of just crashed. And I felt not great anymore. And I realized I think that I had overworked myself. Would I have expected that? No. Do I regret it? No. Because honestly, going out and seeing all those things was amazing. And I think it was really important for me to do. But it took me a while to realize that I needed to let myself relax when my body was asking for it. And I didn't want to, because it was kind of uncomfortable to sit with those feelings, to realize yeah, I'm not feeling great. My body's asking me to rest a little bit right now. And I realized that sometimes when I would go out, when I would do things, for whatever reason, I would get more stressed than others. And I noticed that there was a point where, I needed to realize and listen to myself to, when I got to that point, to not push myself so much. And I think maybe it's just me right now, but I think that this is something that happens all the time for people, or at least for me, I know it does, is there's this feeling of guilt, I think. I don't think that we talk about it as much as we should. I don't think we talk about it enough in any way, shape, or form, even if, I don't even know if we do talk about it, because sometimes I don't feel like we do. But we're not meant to be doing things all the time. And sometimes we need rest days. As humans, sometimes rest days are needed, right? I don't think that we take that rest time for us enough. I think that, at least for me, I see everything going on online. I see everyone doing everything. And it feels a lot like there's this big hustle culture. You just always have to be doing something, moving forward. Sometimes what you need might be to sit down and do nothing. And that's not the type of thing that you usually see online, because who wants to document them doing nothing, right? That's not really a thing that people do. But especially as I've been here, I've realized that's important for us as humans. And there was a lot of FOMO that I was having, but I think it was a little bit less FOMO and more of, I just felt guilty. I felt so guilty and sick to my stomach because I felt like, well, I should be getting out and doing things, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And that's where there's a fine line, because when it's mental health related, it can be really hard to figure that out, right? Especially if you're dealing with something like depression or similar to it. A lot of times you don't want to do anything. You can't get yourself up. You can't do, it is really hard. And in that case, one of the things that has helped me the most is opposite action. So I know I don't want to get up right now. That's going to be really hard. I don't want to do it. It is almost impossible for me to get myself up, but I do it still. It is a routine. You follow that routine. You go on with your life. And somehow by doing that and by doing your everyday things, it allows your body to realize, okay, we're doing this. And it's a really effective way to treat something like depression or just mental health in general. Same with anxiety. It's really helpful. So when I was dealing with mental health when I was struggling with mental health at the time, just because of the transition, and I kind of actually needed that rest day, it was really hard for me to figure out, okay, do I actually need to not go to something, to cancel a plan? Or is this a bit of fear or a bit of sadness that's pulling me back from that? And I started with just thinking like, okay, well, it's, I'm dealing with mental health, so I have to do opposite action. I get up and I do it either way, and I keep doing it. And I realized that I was pushing myself too much. So instead I sat down and I said, okay, what if I try it the opposite way? Maybe I need to let myself take a few breaks. So maybe what I do is I do 1 or 2 things per day, but then I allow myself to take a break when I am starting to feel like that. And things like going to classes and whatever, like I'm going to do that. Those are non-negotiables, although there are some of them that are negotiable because they're recorded. So, point aside, I was going to see what I could do every day, what was feasible for me. And the moment that I kind of allowed myself to feel that way, I realized what I was being tired of was so many new things. Like, I was tired of so many new things going on, and I needed just a simple routine. And maybe that means if I didn't have anything going on, maybe that means going back to my room and watching a show, right? Something that was calming for me. Allowing myself to kind of figure that out by trial and error. Honestly, I've felt better than I felt for weeks. And maybe that will change, right? But I realized you have time to do things. And I say this with a grain of salt because a lot of times I think we have more time than we do. And a lot of times when starting something new, I get in the mindset of, well, I'm just going to make it better before I start, right? Start now. But also, don't start now. It's not helpful, I know. Start now. If it's something that you are afraid of because of external things. But if there are internal things that your body is really truly telling you that you need to take a break because you have been overworking yourself, take that break, please. I cannot stress how important it is to take that break. Sometimes it's just needed, and it's okay, right? I take breaks all the time. The people that you see online that are always busy doing things, they take breaks. They have that day where they stay in their pajamas all day and do nothing. We've all had that day, even if it means you're just sick and you have to, right? And sometimes, at least for me, I've noticed, sometimes it takes me getting sick. Actually, I was sick when I got here, but I just slept all day. Like, I needed more of a break than that. Because it's a big change, right? And sometimes I've noticed for me that if I don't listen to that, my body finds ways to tell me, whether that mean I get sick or my mental health gets way worse. My body will do whatever it can to tell me that I am not listening to it and I need to listen to it. And I'm grateful for that. But I get it. It's hard because there is a fine line between listening to your body and also when it comes to the world of mental health, your body, sometimes your brain lies to you in terms of what you need. And that can be really hard. I don't want to say lies, but it overprotects a little bit. And in that case, sometimes it just means trial and error. You might make a mistake. I really tried to push myself and it got worse. So I realized maybe I took the wrong approach to this. Maybe I need to go the opposite direction. Other times, it might be as simple as sitting down and asking yourself, why am I feeling this? Have I been overworking myself a lot? Does it make sense? Or is it something that's maybe related to mental health? Honestly, some days it seemed like it was mental health related, so staying in and watching my show made me feel worse in the end. Other days it seemed like I genuinely have overworked myself, and staying in and watching a show made me feel so much better, right? Sometimes it changes day by day and hour by hour, and it's not easy, but I think that ultimately, no matter where you are, taking one rest day, it's not bad. Taking a few rest days, if that's what you need, like, that's okay. Don't let it get to a point where, like, I say this because I know that I've gotten to that point before where taking a rest day is actually me just running away from something, right? Like, I'm dreading something, so I'm taking a rest day. And I don't realize it because my body's way of responding to dreading something is by making me feel worse. But sometimes you just have to put it yourself through it. So it's kind of like I said, I'm saying this over and over again, but sometimes it's trial and error. Is it actually helping in the long run to be taking that rest day, or is it actually harming you, right? Sometimes you might need to wait a few days to figure out, is that the case? A few hours, a few minutes, whatever it may be, whatever your specific situation is. But my point with this episode is to tell you, it is okay, and it is also okay to maybe not quite know what you need, to talk to someone, to brainstorm, to problem solve. Life is not easy. Life is not just, like, there's no rule book for it, right? And sometimes it takes a lot of problem solving. And I know that's not the answer that people want to hear, but sometimes sitting down when I'm struggling and having my mom tell me, like, we're going to figure this out together. We're going to problem solve together. We are going to problem solve, because no, there's not one right answer. Sometimes that's what I need to hear because I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I feel guilty. I feel like I need to have it all figured out. You don't. Life takes a lot of figuring out. No one's ever going to have it figured out. So if you're feeling like maybe you need a rest day, sometimes you know that you do, but you're avoiding it, take your rest day. Take whatever your body is asking you in order to help you. I will see you next time for a little bit more of an episode that is, I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, but I haven't really known how. So we're going to try that next week.